Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Let's go to the phones and talk to Liberty Linda. Liberty Linda, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. You know, I think the problem I have, and most of your listeners, is we are living in a world that is unrecognizable. Some people would say that we are negative. However, we see it the opposite way. We have been raised to recognize that the total good of the United States and that this world has been given to us. Now, what we were raised to know, what is good, is called bad. You know, number one, take away our guns. Number two, socialism being good. Marijuana is said to be good. You know, every person's life is important. And 5, our children are precious. So we may sound negative, however, we are living in a world that we don't recognize anymore. I say we need to keep the good things that have been taught to us in our youth and choose good over evil. And that's basically what I wanted to say today.
Well, you know, we used to laugh at these things, Liberty Linda.
I know it. You know, and yes, now that you've explained what hemp is, and they can't, they don't understand what is the difference. If you're smoking one or the other. I don't understand this stuff, but it sounds like hemp is negative also. That we should not have hemp. Because you can't tell the difference between hemp and marijuana.
Well, that's the big thing that you'll not hear from the pro-hemp, pro-marijuana media is this issue involving there's no test to determine the difference.
I know everything that's logical to us is turned around backwards today, and we're scratching our heads saying, what is going on? Now, maybe sometimes I call in and I sound negative. I don't mean to be negative. I mean to be honest. And, you know, it's a world we're living in that I don't recognize as the things I was taught as a child. I don't recognize California anymore, and it hurts my heart. I love California. And it's totally a different state. What's going on there is people are fleeing, to Idaho, Washington. And, that's why we love your show so much. We get to hear the things that we know that are true. And that's why I call in. I just love you, Kevin. You are one of the most wonderful people, I think, on the world. Well, and so is your wife. She's lovely.
Thank you, Liberty Linda. I was at church last night. It was a special occasion for those people joining the Catholic Church. And I had a few men come up to me and say, Kevin Miller, you're this, that. Look, those guys that spoke to me just as you, we do our very best to reflect your values. Because you're the people that make it happen.
Well, I used to be Catholic. I used to go to Catholic church. And the people I knew there were lovely people, absolutely lovely people. And I think that no matter what church we should go to, that we should be together in one in our nation and trying to do good. And you get out the good word. So that's what I love about your show. That's what I love about you. You are a wonderful person. And, unrecognizable today. We turn on the news and it's like, this isn't the country that I grew up in. This isn't the things I was taught by my grandparents, by my mother. And so anyway, I wanted to share that today, and that your listeners know that as well.
Well, it's like Laura Ingraham said, everything is bad, everything is racist, everything is this, that, and the other.
I thought, when you played that, I thought, that's perfect to what I wanted to say as well. So, the Spirit leads us. And I believe in the Spirit. And I always say I live by the Spirit. So anyway, I just wanted to share that this morning that, your callers, I know, almost every single one of your callers mean good, and they want good for our nation. And I know that's what you want. You have such a good heart. And so, anyway, that's what I wanted to call and say. Goodness. That's what I love. I love goodness, and I love our nation and what our founding fathers gave us. And I love our president. President Trump has saved us. I don't think we'd have a nation today without him. So I'm sticking by his side.
Well, as you should.
Well, we have to. If we don't, we won't have a nation. His eyes are open to these things. And I guess that's why I was inspired in the first place to be for him. And I stuck with him.
Right.
Because of the Spirit, because of what the Spirit was telling me. And, we don't know. That's why, I don't see one thing good on the Democratic side, if you still want to call it Democratic. I don't see one person running over there that, to me, makes any common sense whatsoever. It will transform not only the United States, but our whole world. So,
Liberty Linda, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Bye-bye. By the way, I want to thank Greg Pruitt for pointing out a correction that needs to be made in my blog. Apparently, when you try to do too much, your headline just is a little misleading. Idaho lawmakers warn legislators not to legalize hemp. Again, you're right about that. It should be Idaho law enforcement warn legislators not to legalize hemp. That story and more at KIDOtalkradio.com. And again, I apologize for the mistake. We're all not above making mistakes, but we own it. Now, how bad is it in America today? Oh, my goodness gracious. At least we're not doing this in the 6 o'clock hour. This is from a video taken by the far-left loony protesters at the University of Arizona. I think we have some people that have attended University of Arizona. Which is it? Isn't that the Cronkite School of Journalism? Hi, everybody. I went to the University of Arizona, Cronkite School of Journalism. Ha, ha, ha. Wasn't Cronkite biased? Oh, you can't say that. You can't criticize Walter Cronkite or Edwin R. Murrow. Shame, shame, shame. Those are the high priests of politically correct journalism. They righted the wrongs. They took down Richard Nixon. Shame, shame. Know your name. I've never been to the University of Arizona. Never been to Arizona State, but this is what's going on, not in liberal loony Los Angeles or liberal loony New York. This is going on at U of A. Let's take a listen. By the way, I'll have to stop it. I can't play the entire thing because the young intellectual college student that most likely is getting federal loans or grants or somebody's paying for her tuition. Because who would ever pay for your tuition, right? That's a right. That's the next one, free education. Start swearing. So we can't air the swear words. If we were loony leftists, we could, but here you go. The Border Patrol is teaching a class at the University of Arizona. This is what we're up against. This is why I urge you to pray, folks. This is the young people of today.
Who allowed the murder patrol murderers into campus where I pay to be here, and they allow murderers to be on campus where I pay to be here. Murderers on campus. Murders on campus. This is supposed to be a safe space for students, but they allow an extension of the KKK into campus.
Now, again, she's talking about the Border Patrol. And this is where we have to go back to Reagan. We have to go back to the Founding Fathers. We have to seek guidance from God with dealing with this sense of bigotry and ignorance. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm going to shuffle off to a career in the floral industry, or shuffle off to a career in real estate, or shuffle off to a career working security with security guard Mike. Maybe this will be it. Oh, that can't happen. They're trying to get the judge. They're trying to get Judge Pirro. They're trying to get Tucker Carlson. And if they can get them, they can get little old Kay Milley here. Well, not so little, figuratively or literally. Here you have what this woman is. She's a bigot. And so far on the right, we never fight back. Here you have lawful people putting their lives on the line, speaking to a group of kids. What's next? The military? So with her ignorant statements, and again, the ignorant statements go unchallenged. She calls the Border Patrol folks descendants of the KKK. Do we have it? Let's continue.
But they allow an extension of the KKK into campus, an extension of the KKK into campus.
I'm sorry, what I'm talking to.
No, that's okay.
And here you have somebody trying to stop this nitwit, closing the door, but that doesn't stop the disruptions.
Murder Patrol is here on campus. This is supposed to be a safe space for students, but we have the Murder Patrol here. How about you talk about slashing water? How about you talk about taking the shoes off migrants, letting them walk through the desert barefoot? How about you talk about all the graves of unidentified folks?
So here we have it at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. The Border Patrol is not doing this. These are just simple lies. These are lies perpetrated by an ignorant bigot. How else would you describe that individual? Bigotry. Do we need to look up the term bigotry? How about we talk about the coyotes, the narco-terrorists, the murders, the sexual assaults that happen on the border? Would she give those crimes equal time? Let's go to east of the Great River. Max joins us from Maryland. Max, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. How you doing, buddy?
Well, what's it like east of the Great River? What's it like being in enemy territory?
Well, I am deep in the darkest part of the blue. Overcast skies and a flood watch. But it's not just a flood watch meteorologically, it's a flood watch morally and politically. The groundswell of evil ripples all the way from D.C., and you can feel it here.
I would imagine.
Now, you asked a question earlier. You asked, is this a better country today? Why don't you take it from somebody who spent a couple of decades out of the country and came back on May the 7th in 2017 to find a far better country than he left?
Well, that's because of Donald Trump, right?
Largely. I believe the American people are not only resilient, but overall, if you come to America, this is the least prejudiced or biased country on the planet. For God's sake, we elected Obama. Now, that doesn't say much for our collective IQ, but that does say a lot for how fair we are. We're willing to give nitwit communists like our favorite Martian Cortez. We're willing to listen to Nancy Pelosi and give her a job, for Pete's sake. And nobody has yet imprisoned Maxine Waters. Come on, tell me, how fair can you be?
Good point.
I wanted to call just to tell you I'm going to be out here prowling the depths of the deep communism that hides within the shadows of the deep state. And I'll call in each day and give you an update and let you know just how close to communist China this part of the country has become.
You might not make it back, little buddy.
Yeah, I tell you what, big man, if I can't make it back, hang my picture on the doors at KIDO and pay homage to one person willing to tell the truth.
What do you make of that student at Arizona University?
Okay, she's a student of a university today. Come on, all of these undergrads are basically tools of the communist ideal. She doesn't even know what she's saying. She's parroting all the little catchphrases. She doesn't know if it's a lie. She doesn't care if it's a lie because her esteemed and vaunted professor, Professor Ho Chi Minh, told her the truth. You ever notice all of these vaunted people have three names like Ho Chi Minh, Mao Zedong, Deng Xiaoping? Be suspicious, be alert, and be aware.
Max, thank you for the call.
All right, take care, big guy, and keep on truthing on.
Good luck, little buddy.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you. Our friend Max, formerly of Garden City, now deep in enemy territory. Coming up next, we have money for teacher increases, but why don't we have money for other things? We'll take a look at the legislature. Oh, how exciting. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And thank you to Holly, along with our friend Greg Pruitt, for correcting me on the headline on KIDOTalkRadio.com. We're diligently working to get our facts together. Sometimes, as I said, I've never claimed to be an expert, so there you have it. It should be law enforcement, not lawmakers. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Greg Pruitt. That's true. Look, I have a lot of respect for people that write for a living. I'm more of a paint-by-numbers guy, but all that going on at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Back to your phone calls. We go to David in Nampa about folks at the University of Arizona calling the Border Patrol the KKK.
Yes, I have a question. Do you remember, was it a year and a half or 2 years ago at the University of Missouri where somebody painted a swastika in poop? And by the way, like Jesse Toilette's phony baloney hate crime, the second I heard that, David Horowitz, the consumer advocate, died. He talked about a tip-off to a rip-off. Well, you can get DNA out of poop. And he said, hello?
Right, go ahead.
And he said, a tip-off to a rip-off, okay? You can get DNA out of poop samples, but I knew the only people who think the swastika is poop isn't poop are the people who wouldn't do it. Weeks and weeks of SJWs swarming in there. Remember the war on the white men? They just said, this is our space. And they actually got this woman, I need some muscle over here. She's going to kick this white guy out of a public space. If somebody, I think this is worse. Let's say that swastika were real. This is worse. And I'll tell you why. What if she had stood up? Let's say it was before a high holy day. And she said, a high holy day is coming up. And these murderers, the Jews, are going to be killing Christian babies and eating their blood and their matzahs. We have to stop them. And I'm offended that Jewish professors are here. Oh, my God. What kind of education failure? A swastika on the wall versus that? What the hell kind of major league mess up happened that this, oh my God, she can vote and drink and sign checks and legally binding contracts, and she thinks such absolute swastika material? That's
well,
failure.
another argument why we shouldn't lower the voting age.
Oh yeah. Robert Francis O'Rourke, a.k.a. Beto, a.k.a. Beta, a.k.a. Weirdo. I'm willing to overlook his running over children stories because he wrote it when he was 16. Okay, so let's review. And by the way, kudos Dennis Prager, who says to think coherently, you have left the left. So you can have an abortion across a state line without your parents' consent or even knowledge, but you can't be held responsible for crimes until you're 26. You can't go off your parents' insurance until you're 26. You can't join the military at 16 to enlist when you're 18, but you can vote. That's not inconsistent at all.
Great point, David. Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave.
I'm just Channel 7's Eric Gebber.
Back to your phone calls. Let's go to David in Caldwell with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, David. Hello, David. Pro-Life, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Good morning, Pro-Life.
Yeah, the girl down there at the University of Arizona. She undoubtedly went to a public high school, public grade school.
Well, you don't know that.
No, I'm just guessing. But when you have an attitude like she does, the government is everything to you, and the government professor is who she worships. And when the professors teach her that stuff, and her fellow students buy that, then they have a peer group that just is totally destructive. And I'm telling you, she believes it's okay to kill her baby if she gets pregnant, and that she believes that transgenderism is needs to be protected, you know. There's nothing wrong with being a transgender. Well, she's so mixed up, and it's the fault of the Christians putting their children in public schools, and we have a godless education. You cannot grow up without God and keep your nation sane. You know, we're insane because we've chucked God out the window, out of the schools, out of society, out of the town square, out of politics. That's why we're like we are. And there's only one way to get back. You have to bring God back into it. So if you believe in God, if you believe that Jesus Christ is the Savior, that he was resurrected and he's really God, then you have to do something about it. You can't just stay in your sanctuary at your church.
Exactly. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. By the way, we've got another announcement for the Boise Music Festival. Very excited to have the Eli Young Band. They're going to be there, having a great time. Wonderful to see them. If you want more details, ticket prices, and everything else, you can check it out at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Saturday, June 22nd, going to be a great time, the 10th annual Boise Music Festival. You can get more details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. And like we said, other great things when we're taking a look at the Boise Music Festival. Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide, is going to be there. Joining us now, we certainly got to fix that phone system here, don't we? Yeah. From Twin Falls County Prosecuting Attorney Grant Lobes. Mr. Lobes, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So here we are talking about hemp, and you are with the Idaho Prosecuting Attorneys Association. A lot of our listeners say that no one in law enforcement testified against that bill. Is that true?
That is true. The way the schedule was arranged and the way the situation arose, there wasn't at first any belief that we needed to, because we were in the midst of what we believe to be very productive negotiations with the authors and supporters of the bill to fix the problems with it. And so while there was a hearing, it was presented as a hearing just for people who had made the trek from out of town to testify. So there wasn't thought to be at the time any need to come in and say all the things in public that we had been saying private to the sponsors.
Sure, sir. Look, we respect law enforcement. We're on your side on this issue. So what is wrong with the bill for people that are tired of me yapping about it and want to hear from the voice of authority?
Well, I think the first thing, Kevin, to keep in mind is that the position of the prosecutors who I represent is not that we should not have some sort of path forward for farmers in Idaho to grow this product if they can find a legitimate and productive use for it. We actually worked very hard amongst ourselves with other law enforcement people, with other officials in the state government, and with the sponsors of this bill to find a rational, safe, law enforcement friendly way to allow farmers to grow this product. And we came up with the same solution that they've come up with in most states that have gone down this road. So we are not saying that we want to close off Idaho to a possible new agricultural commodity. The problem with this bill is that it has none of the safeguards that are available in other bills of its kind throughout the country. There is no way, the way this bill is drafted, to monitor who grows it, to monitor how it's grown, where it's grown, whether it's hemp or whether it's marijuana. Most importantly, there's no way for law enforcement to tell the difference when they stop a shipment that is purported to be hemp. There's no way to tell whether it is hemp or marijuana. And that's our main concern. I mean, the main concern in a nutshell is that this doesn't allow a differentiation between what would be legal hemp and what is and will still be illegal marijuana.
Right, and you're very clear in that letter. However, you've got a lot of pro-hemp people, and specifically in that letter, Grant, you're talking about, look, the canine dogs will be invalid. There are no field tests. We're going to get a few in labs, but that doesn't help the folks on the street. And look, criminals, that's why they're criminals. They're going to claim everything is hemp when they're pulled over for marijuana or with marijuana.
Sure, and if there's no licensing process for who grows it, if there's no permit process for who ships it, if there's no hemp stamp or something on the product, if there's no way for an officer who stops a truck that is said to have hemp in it to tell the difference, because as you correctly said, there are no roadside tests. The dogs will hit on hemp and marijuana indiscriminately. You can't train a dog to tell the difference between a 0.3% THC content, which is the psychoactive ingredient in both hemp and marijuana. There's no way to tell the difference between 0.3% and 3%. So the dog is just going to say, I think there's marijuana in there, and he's going to be right. Because hemp and marijuana are virtually identical. The difference between them is the content of the THC in it. And so until we solve these problems, until we have a way forward to make the importation of illegal marijuana, solve that problem and keep that from being the result of this bill, then this bill is premature the way it's written. But it can be written effectively. Other states have done it. Kentucky, for instance, I think of it as the birthplace of the legal hemp movement because, the U.S. Senator from Kentucky, Mitch McConnell, who's the Senate Majority Leader, is the person who is primarily responsible for the change in the federal hemp law, which allows states to go down the path of creating legal hemp markets. And in Kentucky, they have all of the safeguards I'm talking about. In fact, the bill that prosecutors and other law enforcement helped to draft to help implement this, notion of Idaho growing hemp is almost directly taken from what they've done in Kentucky. And there's no reason why we shouldn't proceed forward along those lines.
So your message to the Senate as they take a look at this is to hold on. Will you folks have an opportunity to testify as the Senate considers this, sir?
Yes, I think we absolutely will. We will also have an opportunity, of course, to impact the way the Senate treats this bill because the Senate, will start over. They go through their committee process just like the House did. In that Senate committee, they will be able to look at all of the details that I've just talked about and others. They'll be able to take into account the concerns of law enforcement, and they will be able to look at the way other states have done this, and hopefully they will amend the House bill to make it a safe bill and to, prevent it from becoming just an avenue for illegal marijuana.
Obviously, you folks and all of law enforcement monitoring when that committee will have the public hearings and when you folks will be there. Right.
And, you have mentioned, and I should give credit, too, to the other law enforcement people. The letter you're talking about, while it is on the Prosecuting Attorneys Association letterhead, it was signed by the presidents of the Prosecutors Association, the Idaho Fraternal Order of Police, the Idaho Sheriff's Association, the Idaho Chiefs of Police. Law enforcement in Idaho is uniformly against the bill that was passed by the House and uniformly in support of seeing the changes that we suggested to the House and implemented in the Senate.
Grant, anything else that you'd like to share with us? We appreciate you coming on. And again, you go back to parts of this letter, talking about HB 122 includes no protections for law enforcement and will effectively legalize marijuana in the state, which I believe everyone wants to avoid.
Well, I think a lot of people do. There's a growing movement in Idaho to join the rest of the Northwest in, legalizing marijuana, and that's a debate we should have up front. And honestly, if that's the position of people, let's talk about that. But the advertised position of the people supporting this hemp bill is to provide a legal, safe market for hemp for Idaho farmers to grow a new product. And if that's the goal, that can be done. And I want to reiterate again that it's not the position of Idaho's prosecutors to keep farmers from having a foothold in the hemp market. If they can make a profit in growing hemp for legal purposes, I'm all for that. I just don't want it to become a smokescreen for people, mostly from out of state, to pump marijuana into Idaho.
Thank you, Grant. Please keep us up to date. We appreciate you, sir.
Thank you. It's been nice being on your show.
Take care. Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Okay, there we have it. Grant Loeb's joining us, prosecuting attorney in Twin Falls, about the hemp folks. By the way, if you missed that interview, you can go to KIDOTalkRadio.com. We'll have that for you. And Maria Maya, let's see if we can grab that clip. We'll play it probably in the 6 o'clock hour just to further go back and forth. So you were right and I was wrong. They didn't testify. We'll talk about it next with two special guests, allegedly. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. All right, we'll hear from the VIPs coming up, maybe even tomorrow. Don't forget to join me at Team Subaru. I'll be hanging out there at 1 o'clock tomorrow, sitting on their comfortable couch with Rob and Aaron. Let's get to the phones as people call you, the usual suspects. But first, Jason, not to be confused with David in Caldwell, joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Jason, thanks for your patience.
Hey, thanks. I want to first off say thank you very much for everything you do for our community. And I also want to state that I absolutely stand 100% behind law enforcement in the state of Idaho and around the country. But I wanted to explain that there is a little bit of a difference between hemp and marijuana that can be determined simply by looking at it. And so in order for everybody to understand a little bit, I want to relate to things because I'm sure most people have never grown hemp, never grown marijuana, don't know. But if you've ever grown tomatoes or bush beans, pole beans, even other things like strawberries, there's a lot of crops that are either determinate or indeterminate. And if you've ever had tomatoes, usually you can go out every couple days and pick more all throughout the season. But there are some tomatoes that will come out all at once. All your tomatoes are done, and when they're done, that plant's done. Same thing with the bush beans. They're all at once or they're all throughout the season. Same difference between hemp and marijuana. Hemp is just a determinate crop. It will just grow until it's done. And you see a farmer harvesting hemp in July, you know for a fact that is not marijuana, because marijuana creates a protein that dies under the light of sun. Sunlight kills the protein that puts the plant into a flower mode. Only once the light has gone less than 12 hours a day will the protein have a dominant in the plant and allow the flowers to come. Once those flowers start coming out, when it reaches full maturity, if you look at a marijuana plant, it will look like a pastry chef came through and dusted the plants with powdered sugar. Hemp will never do that. Hemp does not flower like that. It doesn't have trichomes growing, anything like that on the outside. They also look completely different as far as the structure of the plant, whereas marijuana is more bushy, hemp is more tall. Hemp is also transported in its full plant form because the actual product that they're looking for out of hemp is in the stalk, whereas marijuana is never transported in the full plant because the product of marijuana is in its flower. So if the law enforcement wanted to, specialize a few people to just simply look at the plant and be able to determine it by looking at it, any person would be able to look at it and simply go, okay, yeah, that's hemp, that's not. And yes, they're correct. Dogs will have a false positive on it because they're not trained on detecting delta-9, tetrahydrocannabinol delta-9. They can't smell that. They're just smelling the plant, and both plants are going to put off a very similar scent. But I respect the prosecuting attorney, Grant, that you had on. I loved what he had to say, and I hope that we can move forward in that direction. I believe that the Idaho Agricultural Commission is going to be able to figure out how to put out quotas just like they do for all the other different types of agricultural crops that we put out. I don't know that we necessarily need licensing and permits. It's just another crop, but
Sure.
There is a way. There is a way, and I think the people are conflating marijuana and hemp a little too much for my preferences because they are so different.
Jason, great call. Thank you. Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. All right, here we are back again. Thank you, Dave Ramsey. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. And joining us now, the king of the hempsters. Good morning, sir.
Are you finally going to stop your hemp rant, or I hate hemp rant, and listen to the prosecuting attorney who actually gave a pretty darn good scenario on the fact that you can grow hemp safely? They do it in Kentucky. They do it in other states. Or are you going to continue on?
I would say this to your accusation, sir, that I was right, that the lawmakers did not consult law enforcement, and the lawmakers, shame, know their name. They need to consult with Kevin Miller and the law enforcement.
Well, I know you're going to credit yourself for all these good things, but nobody showed for the hearing. These guys called the fire department after the house burned down. That's not a good thing to have. They need to be more on the ball. You know, you provided a great forum for discussion on the hemp growing. I think that's great, even though some of your scare tactics were a little out of whack. But, you know, hemp it's no different than saying the sale of more AR-15s in Idaho will result in mass murders in our state. You know, in fact, many of your listeners are already told that growing hemp is not good for marijuana. It's bad because it cross-pollinates and reduces the THC. So let's stop worrying about it. Let's let them put these laws together so they work for us. You know, Kevin, we're seeing liberties curtailed all over the world in different countries, like the gun ban in New Zealand, the incarceration of British citizens who were with a mere mention of anything about Muslims. You know, when you start curtailing,
I thought this was a dialogue, not a monologue. I just would seek to respond.
It is, but you know,
let me just say, look at my great article on KIDOTalkRadio.com. The road to hemp is the road to legalization of marijuana, and sir, those are not scare tactics; those are the facts.
That's taking our rights away. The right to choose, the right to choose for health care, the right to choose free speech,
the right to choose prostitution.
This is the Constitution. We might as well give up the Republic if we can't have these rights and turn it over to the idiot Democrats who want to implement socialism.
Yeah, if we can't have our hemp and smoke it too, you're right.
Listen, I'm not into smoking hemp or smoking marijuana or anything else.
I didn't say you were. I don't know why you're getting defensive.
You go too far to the left in this stuff.
It's not to the left. It's to the right.
No, for you it's the left. I never see you on this side of an argument.
You're going to start calling me Liberal Kevin next.
Libby Kev. I love you, Kevin. Great show. Thank you for the forum. And thanks for putting that guy on this morning. He really did kind of put things into perspective.
Well, we'll continue on, and we've got a couple others from the prosecutors. And look, if you and your hempster crew want to come on, we'll gladly hear what the pro-hemp propagandists have to say.
Well, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should put a group together to do that. Let me talk to a few people.
Tea Party Bob, God bless you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, my friend. Have a good day.
All right. The GemStatePatriot.com. Ray Maya, outstanding job as always. God bless everybody. Don't go anywhere. Glenn Beck's next. You're listening to the home of Fox News in the Treasure Valley, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning.